We're going to talk about scrubbing for the operating room, okay? And one thing you keep in mind, when you're scrubbing for the operating room, you always want to make sure your eye protection and your mask are already done ahead of time, because once you scrub, you can't adjust them. All right, so make sure that's ready. Most operating rooms outside the room will have different versions of a scrub, and I'll show you that. The scrub contains a sponge that's soaked in a disinfecting agent, a little brush attached to the sponge, and a nail pick. Okay, so you take it out, you throw away the wrapper, and the proper way of scrubbing would be where you take the nail pick, holding the sponge in your other hand, and you carefully go and you want to clean under each nail with the nail pick. Okay, you do each nail. Once you're done doing the nails and rinsing out, you throw away the nail pick. Okay, now you're set to start scrubbing. What I recommend is I start with the sponge and brush in my dominant hand. I then wet my hands from the fingertips to the elbows. Okay, and then wet the sponge. Once you do that, from now on, you really should try to keep your fingertips higher than your elbows so that anything you do will run downhill, okay? You don't want to scrub and have the soap go back towards your fingers, okay? You want it going down towards the elbow. So I'm gonna start with the sponge that I've wet. I'm gonna start with the palm of my non-dominant hand, okay? And I'm gonna soap up the palm. I'm gonna go between the fingers. When I get down to the thumb, go around the thumb and go right to the back. Okay. When I finish the back, I will then switch over and start doing the brush. And I'll do the exact same technique, this time using the brush. And in this case, it's also very helpful to get the nails with the brush. Okay. Now I'm going to take the sponge, not the brush, the sponge down my forearm, circling towards the elbow. Okay. When I finish that, I will switch hands and I will do the exact same technique on the palm of my opposite hand. Go between the fingers with the sponge, over the thumb, to the back of the hand, switch to the brush. Back. Now switch to the sponge and go down the forearm again. Fingertips higher than the elbows. Okay, when I finished, I will turn the water back on, still holding the sponge. I will rinse off, starting at the fingertips, rotating until the soap goes off at the elbow. Fingertips above the elbow until it rinses off the other hand. Okay, I'm going to wet the sponge again. I'm going to do the exact same technique a second time. Okay, sponge first, between the fingers, around the thumb, brush, sponge down the forearm, switch hands. Brush on the other hand. And finish up down the forearm. Now this time, after the second time, you throw the sponge away without touching anything. You rinse off, fingertips first. Once you're done, turn the water off. I always let the water drip off so I'm not making a mess. Now, you want to keep your arms out in front of you, fingertips higher than elbows, and then when you enter the room, you'll enter it backwards, opening the door with your back, and then approaching the operating technician to get a towel to dry your hands. Okay? You never want your hands now to go above your shoulders or below your waist. Always remember, your first scrub of the day should take about 5 minutes.